Hey,
What's up?
you there. How are you doing? It's been a hot minute, hasn't it?
It has. It has been quite some time since we last recorded.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure when this episode is going to go up. This is our first little stab at getting back on the recording grind after some personal stuff.
I was out sick.
Yeah, we won't bore you with the details, but recording's been on pause for a couple weeks, so feels good to be back in the swing of things. It does mean, however, it's been a little while since we only recorded one episode of this before immediately turned around and be like, actually, we got to put stuff on pause for a while. So,
Yep. Good to be back.
It is good to be back, though. Finally, I got some real rest. I was simply too tired to rehash the embarrassment that I had incurred over the course of the morning for a fifth or a sixth time, and sleep finally took me.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Darcy. How are you? I pointed this out when we were rewatching, but that is like the upper right corner, like the UI there. That's a really like, it reminds me of P5, this little affectation here where it's doing like the little it looks nice.
Hello.
I'm awake. Just a minute. I stepped out of the bed and hastily made it back up as quickly as I could. Dropping to my knees, I looked underneath the wooden frame for the nightclothes Moira had mentioned. They weren't hard to find. It was spotless under the bed save for a neatly folded gown. I retrieved it and slipped it over my head. It was a little big for me, but it did the trick.
Are you decent?
I'm coming! Sorry, I just had to find a nightgown. I opened the door to greet her. She had a pleasant expression on her face and she looked slightly more together than when I saw her in the chapel. She had droopy eyelids and a serene aura about her, except for the fact that she was, dripping wet.
Moira asked me to bring you some mint, so I brought you some. Are you feeling better?
Yes, actually. Quite a bit better. Darcy had put a few leaves of mint into her mouth and was chewing somewhat rapidly.
Don't worry. I brought plenty. I love the stuff. Grow it myself.
Do you really?
Yes.
She fluttered her eyelashes and held out her hand, proudly showing off a large pouch full of leaves.
I grow lots of things.
Do you, Darcy? When was marijuana discovered? No reason.
Centuries and centuries ago, but probably not in England. Mint is definitely one of my favorites, though. Did you know it's really called mentha?
No, I did not know that. She offered the bag up to me and I reached inside to grab a few leaves. I placed them into my mouth tentatively, but was pleasantly surprised almost immediately. That is nice.
That's right.
You really grow this stuff yourself? It's wonderful.
Thank you for saying so, my friend.
I just wish you hadn't gone and gotten yourself soaked in the process of getting it for me. You didn't have to do that on my behalf.
Oh, no. This isn't because of the mint.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Oh, Darcy, you gem!
Bath time.
She spun around on her heel and began shuffling away toward the hall. Wait, is there no lock on this door?
No. We all trust each other here. Just make sure to knock. You don't want to walk in on Moira epilating.
I see. What does that verb mean?
To epilate is to remove hair, like to shave.
Oh, I never heard that phrase before.
Now you know. Good word.
And now I know.
That was embarrassing. The first time, anyway. Third time, it started being a bit funny, I suppose.
I supposed I didn't have any possessions that needed to be kept away from prying eyes or fingers. I was just used to locks. Darcy moved quicker than I would have expected. You could scarcely see her legs moving underneath her habit. She seemed to glide wherever she went, bobbing up and down ever so slightly. I followed, still feeling a touch indisposed. I didn't even know my way around the Abbey. To be walking around in a breezy nightgown felt wrong, perhaps even disrespectful.
My new headcanon. Darcy has Heelys.
Oh, like either that or something that would cause her to Heelys would be great, but something that would cause her to raise up and down with her like natural step. Like more dramatically enough that Hedwig would make note of it.
But I thought the point was that it was very much less dramatic because it seemed like she was barely moving. She just gliding around.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So, okay, yeah, so she's not...
She's got Heelys.
Yeah, she's got Heelys. She's not bobbing as much as it is naturally. I tried to make some conversation to distract myself. This is a very nice abbey.
It's big and cold and probably haunted.
Oh, god damn it. Wait, no, right, I can't.
What was that?
Sorry, out of character. That's gonna be hard. What?
Well, actually, that's not true. It gets a little hot in the summer when the sun hits the cloister, and you stand in the middle of the cloister.
No, what did you mean, haunted?
Probably haunted.
There's no such thing as ghosts. What makes you feel like the convent is probably haunted?
Well, there are a lot of weird noises at night or when I'm alone walking around. And things move around on their own sometimes. And also, I think most buildings just get a higher chance of being haunted the older they are. And these buildings are very old.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that. There really is no such thing as ghosts. I said this more to comfort myself than her, truth be told. All I could think about was the strange figure I'd seen from my window the night before. We took the stairs Catherine with a K had led me down earlier, and then walked past the door to the cloister to a web of hallways I hadn't seen yet.
That would be a shame. It would be nice to meet Catherine's ghost.
Her placid expression didn't change, but I could sense a hint of sadness in her voice. Not wanting to press further, I quickly changed the subject. Where are the baths?
Not far from the kitchens, so we can make the water hot.
That sounds nice. How pleasant.
It's nice. It's worth making the trips from the well, in my opinion.
From the well? Does the kitchen not have a faucet?
Oh, it does, but we aren't using it at the moment.
Really? Why not?
Well, it isn't really working.
As we stepped out into the rain, I suddenly realized why she was soaked through. Oh, I really hope you didn't trudge back and forth in the rain just for my bath water.
I did, but it's okay. I like the rain.
I was currently struggling not to slip on the wet stone path in my wooden sandals and couldn't for the life of me understand what Darcy was talking about.
Watch your step.
At least promise me you'll go and warm yourself up after this.
Oh, I will. I've got to go help in the kitchen anyway, and it gets hot in there.
She led me into a room with a large window with a wooden tub in the middle. It was certainly not originally a bathing room. The whole thing looked rather makeshift. There was a habit and frock folded in a neat little pile not far away.
And here we are. Enjoy, my liege.
I didn't know what to make of that. I turned around to see if she had looked annoyed or upset, but she had the same pleasant expression as ever on her face.
If there's anything else I can get you, just shout. I will probably hear it from the kitchen.
Well, thank you.
Bye.
Oh, Darcy. Oh, Darcy. Whatever you're doing it right. Keep on.
The most enlightened nun of them all.
Right?
True spiritual perfection.
Oh, man. Darcy fluttered her eyelashes and broadened her grin before spinning around to scoot back outside. Into the rain, closing the door behind her gently. Feeling miserable once more, I shrugged off the nightgown and removed my wet veil and strode over to the tub. The water was quite warm and some pleasant-smelling leaves were floating on the surface. I took a good long look at myself reflected in the water. Horrible. I was pale and small, but any movement of my torso revealed ugly creases of flesh that made me wince. My nose was bent, I had spindly fingers, my eyes were dull and had bags underneath. My hair had been growing almost unhindered since taking my vows, and for an uneven line where I'd made sure to cut my bangs, and to keep them from creeping out under the veil and making my forehead itchy. All in all, I was a sad little creature. Bathsheba I was not. I don't know that.
Biblical figure.
Really?
If I remember correctly, Queen of Sheba. Legendary Beauty or something. I forget which book from.
Yep, wife of Uriah the Hittite and later of David, according to the Hebrew Bible. She's best known for the biblical narrative when she's summoned by King David, who had seen her bathing and lusted after her.
Mm.
Oh, so specifically, the bathing part is the referential point here. Okay, cool. Thank you, Wikipedia. By the way, I know our comment section is very good about being discreet about spoilers and stuff. If there's stuff like specific references that to people in Christian theology that we are not getting, please feel free to fill in the blanks. Like that's perfectly acceptable. I'm
Bible study with Two Queers Play.
right. Like I have no problems admitting that's a point of like I just don't have that same level of knowledge that people do. So Vivian does have more than I do. But if there's something that we miss or get wrong, and it's directly in in the episode, please do feel free to elaborate on those points. Again, we appreciate you not spoiling like the mysteries and stuff, but like stuff like that, yeah, it's gonna go over our head otherwise. Anyway, with a weary sigh, I stepped into the tub. The warmth was quite unlike anything else I'd ever felt. As I lowered myself into the water completely, I could feel my muscles relaxing, a tingling sensation all over, as if the stress of the day was being washed away along with the dirt. Unfortunately, this relaxing effect didn't extend to my head. Ever since the superior had knocked on my door, I had felt as if all my thoughts had to be squeezed through a narrow tube one at a time. I had forgotten each word that made it out of my mouth by the time it was said. It was completely off balance. I even tried sinking my entire head beneath the water to see if it had the same cleansing effect on my mind. No such luck. Raising my head above the waterline again, I tried to organize my thoughts as slowly as they came. I had made a complete fool of myself in front of Catherine and Margaret. Well, in front of everyone. Oh, hello, microphone stand. Well, in front of everyone, actually. I'd made Moira and Darcy waste their time attending to me like servants. I wonder Darcy had made that crack about my liege. They were probably all fed up with me already. But one of them was a killer. What did I care about any of that? This place was in complete shambles. Sisters taking the Lord's name in vain. Flagrant disrespect for the abbess. Skipping matins. No, in fact, disregard for the liturgy of the hours in full. A total lack of familiarity with basic concepts from scripture. Or the proper procedure for Benedictine monastic communities. And murder. That was at the top of the list. To hell with all of them. I dunked my head under the water again and exhaled as hard as I could, in a feeble attempt to expel the rage building inside of me. It worked, somewhat. A feeling of deep embarrassment replaced my anger. I leaned back and stared into the ceiling, ashamed. I tried to push every thought away, both guilt and anger, to try and enjoy the rest of my bath. It really was nice. I wouldn't mind it if someone brought the tub in here for me. I might never get out. Okay, so that changes things. Because in the first episode, we mentioned like the framing device. Kind of made it seem like she had gone back to, like, had been put back to being the anchoress, but wasn't really, like, didn't have her heart in it anymore. Because she's like pretending to be the anchoress once again. This makes it sound more like she's in a jail cell.
Yeah, maybe.
Did she? I wonder if, like, obviously she winds up surviving because she's telling the story here, but I wonder if she winds up getting implicated or committing a crime of some kind. We also had some other theories we were thinking about like the nature of Catherine with a C, right?
Yeah.
We thought like maybe Catherine with a C. She was like? Did they mention how long she had been with the monastery for?
I don't know if they did.
Yeah, like because we were talking about how it seemed like maybe she might have been the handsome man from the intro sequence, right? That one is obviously just like a shot in the dark, but
Yep.
Let's see. It would make sense, like trying to lay low, like they were going to lay low in an abbey for a while, right? And would presumably have the skills to do the chronicling. Say, while I have you here, would you like to hear a different story? It's shorter than my own, don't worry. It won't be too much of a detour.
Hell yeah, I love illuminated manuscript illustrations.
Oh, they're good.
Have you ever heard of The Questing Beast?
No.
It was featured in Le Mort d'Arthur, but was a legendary beast in medieval, I think early medieval, I don't remember exact time period, but at some point in medieval Europe. And it's what we now know as a giraffe. But folks had kind of played telephone with descriptions of it.
Oh no.
From across continents and generations, and believed it to be a beast with the head of a snake and the body of a cheetah and the haunches of a lion, whose stomach emitted the sounds of a dozen dogs howling, yet which was known to have a pleasant and friendly demeanor. And they had one of Arthur's knights go after
Body
it.
of a cheetah and the head of a... I can see how those might have gotten telephoned in.
Yeah.
Haunches of a lion is a little harder to come by, but...
Yeah, I don't know. They were just trying to make sense of it in terms of what they knew and then pass it along to the next guy.
Yeah, I totally get that, yeah.
And it turns out that the thing's just a giraffe.
I'm sure you've heard it before, but it's one that I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's a Bible story, of course. You, of course, know of Elijah and Elisha. Elisha?
Yeah.
Elijah and Elisha.
Yeah.
Elijah ascended to heaven, and Elisha inherited his father's spirit. The sphere of God, with which he was able to perform miracles, and so on and so forth. He could part waters like Moses, and heal blighted lands and rivers. But there's a passage describing a journey to Bethel that amuses me. You know what I'm speaking of, yes? Forsooth, Elisha went up from thence into Bethel. And when he went up, by the way, little children went out of the city and scorned him and said, "Go up, thou bald one! Go up, thou bald one!"
Oh, it's this story.
And when he had beheld, he saw them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And 2 bears went out of the forest and rent 42 children of them. Just like, you fucking call me bald? God says you have some bears.
Yeah.
Wow. Soothly, Elisha went from thence into the hill of Carmel, and from thence he turned again to Samaria. 42 children, torn apart by angry bears at the behest of Elisha. That's rather extreme, isn't it? Oh, also, whoever she's talking to, she assumed to be familiar with this kind of thing. Because we don't know the identity of who she's reporting to.
One thing that's worth thinking about is that what year is this? Yeah.
1483? It says it's either 1482 or 1483. It said specifically at the beginning.
Okay, so this is I do believe that at this time it was not considered proper to publish the Bible in the vernacular, and that normal folks reading the Holy Book would not be a thing, given that we're pre-Protestant Reformation, pre-printing press, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised at pre-printing press, considering that they're producing them by having the anchoress copy them.
Yeah, and she's talking about her knowledge of Latin and Greek and so on. So at this time, for someone to be intimately familiar with the details of the Bible, we are talking of another member of the clergy. The general populace would know only what they were preached to of at sermons, and would not likely be intimately familiar with every bit of it.
What if you were rich?
If you were rich and knew Latin.
If you're rich and knew Latin.
So a rich person or a member of the clergy. And rich people did know Latin. You would, it was the lingua franca of the time.
Yeah.
So you would be expected to.
So that gets us some more details about Catherine then.
About Catherine.
Well, I guess it's not the victim. I guess not, because she's a nun, right?
Yeah.
Although the chronicler, so well read.
Mm-hmm.
Hedwig assumes that it was who she was talking to all that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, presumably someone who also was well read outside of that, but yeah, still interesting to note. It's funny. When I was locked in the cell the first time around, I never thought much of this part of the story. But it really is awful to think about, isn't it? Could you imagine being ripped to shreds by a wild beast just for calling a man bald? Only, it mustn't be horrible, because God heard Elisha's curse and punished the rude little boys and girls justly. I've read that a lot of people question if they were really children. Perhaps in the original Hebrew the word is a little bit broader. In Latin it certainly says children, and we're taught that the text is inerrant. Which brings me to the part of the story that interests me so. The text is inerrant, but the Bible as we know it is a translation. So surely there is room for some error, right? In fact, that version of the story I recited for you, that wasn't just me paraphrasing from the Vulgate for you. That was a passage translated by a man named John Wycliffe. No, of course I know you know who Wycliffe is. Who does not? Please continue to humor me.
Who was Wycliffe? Was
Thank you.
Like... Right. He was a scholar, priest, and professor at the University of Oxford in the 14th century, and was best known for advocating translating the Bible into common language. And he completed such a translation, although it may not all have been him. But Wycliffe's Bible was a thing, was completed.
When was it completed? Would have been before this, but...
We don't know exactly when.
Okay.
We think prior to 1384.
Okay, so it's been around for about 100 years at this point.
Yep.
Okay, so it is the kind of thing that is extant, but not necessarily, but not commonly produced.
Yeah, extant, but considered somewhat unseemly or improper to do by most.
I see.
Anyway.
All right, good background, thank you.
I feel like there's something I should remember about the Wycliffe Bible, but I don't.
I am attempting to record everything I find relevant to this story. Imagine, perish the thought, that you were some heathen listening to my tale. You would appreciate the explanation, would you not? That is how I was trained to write chronicles. Do try and put up with me if I sound like the superior. Anyway. So she was also taught I guess so. Her being the chronicler wasn't just a front. She really did learn how to do that.
Yeah. So it took enough time for her to actually learn to do it.
Well, we know this is approximately 1 year afterwards, according to the first episode. So I guess if you really wanted to stretch the bounds of like what that could be, we might have at most like 23 months, right? As written in Latin, the story is follows. Ascendit autem inde in Bethel, cumque ascenderet per viam, pueri parvi egresse sunt di civiate, et eludebant decentes ascende calve. Is it ascende?
Ascende.
Ascende calve. It's always
At
a
least
hard.
if it is what you will be taught of classical Latin. In Church Latin, I bet it is a soft C. I do not know Church Latin pronunciation.
Got it. Qui cum respexit, vidit eos, et maledixit, eas in nomine Domini, egressique sunt duo ursi del saltu, el laceraverunt, ex eas quadraginta duos pueros. Didn't we say you were going to do the Latin last time?
Yeah, and that, I'm perfectly willing to.
I'm not going to pretend I'm good at this. Many years ago, Wycliffe translated the Bible into English. The archbishop at the time accused him of inserting nefarious messages into his translations. He thought Wycliffe was trying to rile the common people up to rebel against the church. So sure were they of Wycliffe's heresy that they held a synod to argue for his expulsion from Oxford. They succeeded as well. His Majesty Richard II banished him from the college, and it became actual written law that no man shall write against the church. You both know the rest, of course. But you won't bite my head off for walking through it, will you? The Wycliffeites were denounced. Their heresy was thoroughly put to rest. This was nearly a century ago, so God forgive me for saying this. Wycliffe had some interesting things to say about translation that often rattle around in my head. But I've gotten very sidetracked here, haven't I? Oh dear. The point is, I find it interesting that Wycliffe's translation kept the children part from the Vulgate Bible. He too must have felt the original Latin text was inerrant, and yet he was punished for his translation work. God forbid, but if the church as we know it crumbles many years from now, someone attempts to teach us using his Bible as a basis, will they keep that part? Like we kept it in the Vulgate?
Answer, yes.
What does this story actually mean? It certainly seems a bit cruel. Maybe it means nothing. If it means nothing, is it necessary? If it is necessary, then what does it mean? You must forgive me. I do sound a bit of a lollard at the moment, don't I?
Lollard. Oh, I want to bring that one back. That's good.
Lollard was the name of a religious movement.
Really?
Yeah, it's what folks accused Wycliffe's folks of being.
Lollardy, also known as Lollardism, or the Lollard movement, was a proto-Protestant Christian religious movement that existed from the mid-14th until the 16th century. Initially led by Wycliffe. Yep. Their demands were primarily reform of Western Christianity, formulated the beliefs in the 12 conclusions of the Lollards. Well then, that's...
Lol.
That's what I thought it was.
Anyway, you heard it here first. Two Queers Play bringing back the Lollard heresy. That's what you asked for. That's what you asked for.
Yep, that's what I said on microphone. It is a rather impossible problem. The 42 children have been mauled by bears at least 3 times now. Probably many more, as I doubt Wycliffe is the only man to try to write a Bible in his own language. And since I'm afraid I'm useless at Hebrew, I'll never know if they were meant to be at all. I suppose this is splitting hairs. If they were grown men and women, being attacked by a furious mother bear commanded by God's messenger is still a rather unpleasant way to go. Still, clawed to death for a playground taunt. What a strange world. Playground. Was that?
Hmm?
Was that term around?
I don't know.
Because I have a very specific, like, vision of
Yeah.
what a playground is, but also I can imagine it having a different meaning.
Yeah.
Ah, so you had indeed already heard all of this before. Please forgive me for taking up more of your precious time. Like I said before, you'll permit me a small indulgence here and there. Even if that indulgence is to describe me vomiting in intense, too much detail.
I still like the little interlude screens
Oh.
here.
The verse
Yeah?
behind the thing there, that's the two bears verse.
That's the Two Bears verse? Wow.
You'll see duo Ursi.
Yes, yeah, okay. Because we remarked on that last time about not knowing which. That's the Two Bears verse, huh? All right, welcome back to Two Bears Play.
Wait,
no,
that would be a very different
That'd be a
channel.
very different show. One I would watch, but a very different
Yeah.
show.
Even if I was not completely refreshed in spirit, the bath certainly did wonders for me physically. I could no longer count each individual bone in my body aching, at the very least. The noon bell rang. I stood up in the bath, scanning around for a towel of some sort, and I spotted one, a simple piece of linen cloth, folded next to the habit Moira had washed up for me. I stepped out of the bath while the bell was still ringing and dropped to my knees, resting my elbows against the edge of the tub with my hands clasped together. I began reciting the Psalms for Sext.
Fucking hell.
But now it's in character, so I can't take them.
Canticum gradum, ad te levavi oculos meos, qui habitas in caele.
You're Moira.
I forget which one was Moira.
So I believe Moira was the one that helped us back to our room afterwards and tried to comfort us. And took our stuff away to be
Right.
yeah, right. The last one we met.
Okay. Hello.
Also, the one I note, as soon as we said the word, we mentioned this at the time, how Hedwig had kind of let slip that she was forced to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that happened, Moira suddenly turned on the sob story about how she was so sad that Catherine had died and that everyone else in the Abbey didn't seem to care or notice or seemed to be trying to put an end to it. And on rewatching, I was like, it's really interesting that you do that as soon as you kind of have enough to put together that what exactly Hedwig is here to do.
I wheeled around with a start, twisting into an uncomfortable position, attempting to cover my shame and turn to face my visitor at the same time.
Oh, goodness. I'm so sorry. I was just coming to collect you for luncheon.
It's all right. I was just reciting the office.
Really? Which one?
Sext? The noon office? Do you not?
Oh, yes. Well, since we break for luncheon at midday, we roll that one into prime.
This was deeply embarrassing for several reasons. I rose to my feet, strategically covering myself. Moira politely held a hand in front of their eyes. Did I interrupt it then, in the chapel?
I would never blame you for it in that sense, but I
began drying myself off with the towel, pressing it against my hair gently and hastily running it along my body. I must confess that I'm a little bit, behind on all the offices today. I slept through the matins as well.
Matins? Oh, don't worry yourself about that. We roll matins into prime as well.
What? I flung the towel to the ground in shock, so dismayed I was. Moira, still holding her hand in front of her face, let out a nervous giggle.
It's fairly normal as far as I know. We have morning prayer and evening prayer. If we spent all day following the hours to the letter, we'd never get anything done. Or any sleep at all. Were you really getting up in the middle of the night to pray?
Yes.
And dropping everything to recite psalms throughout your day?
Yes!
My goodness, that's so unfair. The superior never told you about how monasteries condense the hours. The bishop didn't either.
No. I find that hard to believe, to be perfectly honest. How often do you take communion?
Whenever the bishop is here, so every few months or so.
This almost knocked me back to the floor. I was used to receiving communion once a season, but I'd been under the impression that I was a unique case. My needs differed from the rest of the sisters. I had been in a permanent and all-encompassing relationship with God. These women did not seem to have the same devotion. Finally remembered that I was standing there like a fool and began to put my fresh clothes on. They smelled and felt lovely. Little dried leaves fell out of the sleeves and robe as I lifted them. I bent down to pick one of them up after I slid the cloak over my head.
Those are from our garden. Aren't they nice?
Extremely so. You really don't recite the hours as written. This isn't, I don't know, some kind of prank?
Why would I pull a prank on you?
I have no idea. The superior just put the idea in my head, I suppose. At morning prayer.
Oh, of course. Flora's the one to watch out for. She's full of youthful vigor. Or Darcy. Or, well, Catherine. Or Margaret.
She looked sheepish.
I can see why you might be wary of practical jokes, but please believe me when I tell you that condensing the hours into morning and evening prayers is fairly standard around monasteries these days. In fact, I think it might have been for a long while now.
I suppose I'd have no way of knowing otherwise. And it's accepted?
I don't think anyone's ever gone to hell for rearranging their calendar, if that's what you're asking. Are you dressed now?
Just about. Moira lifted her hand from her eyes.
Now would you look at that? Fresh as anything.
Thank you very much for washing them.
Oh, don't mention it. Hopefully you're feeling a bit better now. Once we get some lunch in you, you'll be good as new, I reckon.
I'm looking forward to it, but, This might sound silly, but if I go to evening prayer tonight and do the rest of the hours, I still won't have caught up. Do you mind if I at least finish Sext?
No, not at all.
Thank you very much. Ecce sicut oculi servorum in manibus dominorum suorum. I have, never actually prayed for an audience.
Would you like me to join you?
She's got that nervous. You notice in her telling, she's got that not quite a nervous laugh, but she's got like almost. It's not sinister, but it's got a kind of like a knowing quality to it,
Yeah.
right? Like she's in on something.
Yep.
Or she understands more than she's letting on when she goes. Here it's more like she's a little bit kind of nervous, like. Yes, that would be lovely, actually.
Moira beamed and walked over to the tub I had been using. She kneeled as I had been kneeling earlier, and I joined her. The pleasant scent of the leaves in the bath still lingered above the water.
Sicut oculi ancili in manibus domini suae.
Ita oculi nostri ad dominum Deum nostrum, donec miserator nostri.
She's also doing a lot to get in our good graces here. Which, she might just be a swell person, but it's worth pointing out that we only saw the swell part of her as soon as she got enough information to put together what our actual role is here.
I see.
We completed the liturgy and left in silence. I felt bolstered by the light of prayer, and the bath and fresh clothes had left me feeling warm and content. Moira strode in front of me, leading me to the rectory. When we arrived, I took a deep breath. There were stairs in front of me. Stairs? Not stairs. Let's find another way up. Bathing in prayer rejuvenated my body and spirit, but I was still nervous about facing everyone, both because of the harrowing events of the morning, but because of my mission. I hadn't forgotten. I just had no idea how to begin. The rectory was a long room with a high ceiling. A large, aged table had already laden with plates ran the length of the room. All the other sisters were there, and the superior was standing at the head of the table, appearing to hold court.
Ah, wonderful. Are you feeling any better?
Yes, very much so. Moira beamed and gently guided me to the foot of the table where a stool was waiting. Oh, I couldn't.
Please sit, so that everyone may be introduced to you properly this time.
This was the last thing I wanted to be perfectly honest, but I obeyed.
You smell nice.
Thank you, Darcy.
You have already met Sister Darcy, of course. She tends to the garden and livestock and is something of an alchemist.
I noticed her little tincture she had in her hand there.
I prefer the title Alchivisionist. Of course. Sitting next to her is Eustis.
Charmed.
Eustis is our sacristan and librarian. We actually have a great many rare books stored here that need to be taken care of. Sacristan. I don't remember what that word means.
All right,
That's
is it my
not-
turn? Let
Yeah.
me take a look. Sacristan. Oh, it means land of the sacrist. A sacristan is an officer charged with the care of the sacristy, the church, and their content. That doesn't help me.
Okay.
Sacristy, also known as a vestry or preparation room, is a room in Christian churches for keeping of vestments such as the alb and chasuble, another church furnishing sacred vessels and parish records. Oh,
Okay.
so it's a fancy storeroom.
Yeah,
She's
takes care of the important churchy
Right,
stuff.
right. So she's the one they got the warehouse full of churchy stuff, and she's like, no, don't worry, I got you. I know where stuff is. I take care of it,
Yeah,
and that way they have it when they need it.
yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
And read, most importantly. Not all of them have been cataloged.
I am sure you and Eustis will get to know each other very well. She will be of great use to you as our new chronicler. This is Sister Flora.
We haven't met Flora yet.
She's our youngest oblate. She's 17. I'm 19. Are you really? My goodness, time flies. I wish. I've been stuck here for 5 years now. Now, really, stuck? Yes, stuck. Well, she has not yet found her calling, but the youthful spirit of rebellion gives Flora the energy to help out with various tasks around the Abbey. You have met Moira already, of course? Yes, indeed. Moira is our infirmary, but also serves as our chamberlain and our hosteler on the rare occasions we have visitors.
Okay, so infirmary means she's like their medic or nurse,
Yep.
right? What does chamberlain actually do?
Yeah, to me it's just a name by now. It's one of those words that's just become a name.
Right, because it's one of those names that was at one point a job description, but
I'm gonna guess takes care of the dormitories.
officer in charge of managing the household of a sovereign or other noble figure.
Managing the household. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And hosteler. So I'm guessing greeter or like the face, right? The one who's going to be
Like,
I see the word hostel in
Yeah.
there. One who lodges paying guests. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. Oh,
I'm the closest here to I'm the closest thing to a doctor here without, well, being a doctor, you know?
Without having a man here, you mean?
And thank goodness for that,
A polite laugh went around the table.
On your right, Hedwig, is Sister Marta. Marta has actually had many roles here, even before I was the prioress. She was the chronicler before our last, and has also been our cantor. You can just say that I'm old. It's no secret. I wouldn't dream of it. You have much wisdom and many surprises left in you, Sister Marta.
What do you do nowadays?
I try to enjoy what's left of my life, dear. You run the cellars, you mean. I said what I said. There's so many new nuns.
do you want me to pick up another nun?
Maybe.
Okay. That could be charity as well.
And a damn fine job of running the cellar you do, I'll say.
This is Sister Charity, who is, rather fittingly, our head almoner.
Help me. Help me. What does almoner mean?
I don't know if that's someone who gives alms or receives alms, but I believe it to be one or the other of those.
Got it.
I gotta know. I gotta
All right.
know.
It's your turn to look up stuff. Although there's not much to be done around here, I'm afraid.
Okay, in charge of distributing money to the deserving poor. So the almoner is the one who gives alms.
Got it. So, and her name is Charity.
Oh, that's good.
It's a little on the nose, but I like it.
So I mostly strive to do the same as Marta here. You help out in the cellars, you mean? I enjoy life.
Next is Sister Margaret. We've met already. Margaret is another almoner and also helps in the cellars. I'm a pre-centor as well. I helped Catherine a lot with her writing. What is a pre-centor?
Centaur. Is that what comes before a centaur?
Oh, a person who leads a congregation in its singing or prayers.
Oh, okay. So just like the one up front, making sure everyone's in time together, and yeah, makes sense. Okay.
In a cathedral, a person usually ordained who is in charge of preparing worship services. Okay.
Cool. So she's the one putting together the program?
Yeah, I guess so. Margaret is very talented. She was also our first foreign oblate. Thank you very much for explaining that on my behalf, Soup. Anyway, it's not completely true. So many nuns.
So many nuns.
It is completely not true, in fact. Ah, Sister Adela, I thought you were born in Spain. I was born in Spain, which is another country. I was born in Spain as well. What I meant was, this should be good. Do you actually know where I was born, Soup? Don't call me that. And of course I do. You're our first oblate from outside the usual.
It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You can't turn away.
Here, the typical sphere of people who devote themselves to monastic life. Whole world's a sphere, Your Reverence. That is so true, Darcy. I'm just a nun doing my little part to spread the faith around the whole globe, which is the entire purpose of being one, or so I'm told. I'm Irish.
Someone in our comment section actually pointed out that Moira was probably Irish last time.
Yeah.
From EP1, yeah. Based specifically on how her voice was described.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's wonderful, Moira. I apologize. I did not mean to offend. I simply meant... No offense taken, Soup. I'm sure Hedwig knew what you meant. Well. Tough act to follow. You have, of course, met Catherine. Her name is spelled with a K, but when speaking we referred to her as Catherine 1.
Because Catherine with a C came after her.
Yeah.
Which also pays more credence to our idea that the Catherine with a C has not been at the monastery for a long time.
Yeah. Our old chronicler was called Catherine 2. We had a little contest for it, and Catherine 2 was very gracious in defeat.
Or not.
A crying shame what happened to her. Catherine is our... Come to think of it, Catherine, what is your title? I dabble. This is Sister Adela. She was actually our newest oblate before you decided to join the congregation. That's right.
Do you want me to take another nun?
What?
Do you want me to take another?
Oh, I had already started being Sister Adela. She showed up.
Oh, right, she did. Yes.
It feels good to move up a rank. Adela has also not really settled into a role yet. Like Flora, she helps out wherever she can. And finally, we have met already.
I gulped.
I am the prioress, my second in command.
We sat in silence for a moment.
I'm from Wales. Thank you, Darcy. Well, now that we're all caught up.
Everyone's heads bowed instantaneously. I hastily lowered my head as well to join in the hushed whispers.
Let us eat.
On my plate were 2 thick slices of bread, far thicker than had ever been given in my cell. There was some kind of boiled meat and a crumbly hunk of white cheese. I glanced around and everyone was already digging in with their fingers. I followed suit, starting with the bread. It was light and fluffy with a crisp crust. A finger appeared above my plate suddenly.
Duck.
What?
The meat, it's duck. With herbs.
From your garden?
That's right.
I pinched off a piece and marveled at how juicy it was. I put it in my mouth and was overwhelmed. Wow. I helped a little bit.
Yeah, you killed the duck.
Well, yes. Because you cry if you have to do it.
That's right. I raised them and named them and loved them.
You really shouldn't do that for starters.
Name them?
Yes, or love them.
I'm good at names is the thing.
That's true.
And once I've named something, it's impossible not to love it. What was this duck's name? I'd offer my compliments, if they were still alive anyway. No clue.
She doesn't let me tell her which ones are being slaughtered.
Wait, interesting.
Is this an interface?
I don't know.
This is the young one, right?
Yeah, hang on, but you'd still...
Yeah, she figures it out eventually when she checks in on the animals.
Look, it makes sense. How does it make sense, Darcy? I'm going to be a little sad about it no matter what, but I can't stop it from happening. But I can put it off so I'm not sad about it at lunch, which is a horrible time to be sad. Does knowing you're gonna be sad later not make you sad now? No. Why? Because the duck tastes good.
Nobody seemed to be able to argue with this logic.
That's our Darce. That's our Darce.
Thank you for your contributions, Darcy. Everyone continued eating in silence for a moment.
How do you tell the difference between animals? Knowledge.
I shuddered involuntarily all of a sudden as I felt a hand beneath the table tapping my knee. I looked over to my right at Marta, who smirked. She tapped my knee again as the others continued their conversation.
Time for funk bass to kick in.
Heck yeah.
Is it difficult killing the ducks?
No, not really, no. Not much of a match for me, if I'm being honest.
I suppose you have a knife in that situation.
I assure you I could easily defeat a duck, even without a knife.
What about 2 ducks?
Absolutely.
3?
Again, definitely 3 ducks. I think you're all really overestimating how much damage a duck could do to me. I'm an adult woman, for goodness sake. The tapping on my knee continued. She, still smirking, tilted her head down, indicating I should look lower. I did, and saw that she was holding a handful of... something. Understandably, finally I held up my hand. She nodded and returned to her... meal.
Ducks can be really mean. Have you ever seen an angry duck?
Yes, I am very familiar with angry birds. They don't like being killed, funnily enough.
What? They can, see you coming? They know they're about to die?
I don't have to ambush them, if that's what you're wondering. They usually figure it out by the time I pick them up by the neck and put them on the chopping block, though.
How would one sneakily attack a duck?
Very easily, probably. They're ducks.
But you don't attack them that way.
That's correct.
Why not?
Again, I feel like you're all severely overestimating the power of a single duck and underestimating me, a fully grown-ass woman.
How many ducks would it take before you think you'd lose?
I could defeat every duck. It is simply not a problem for me. Come on, bring them on.
Every duck in the world. Come on.
I could defeat infinite ducks.
They are small and they have little necks. I could kill a duck by accident. It simply does not require any measurable amount of my strength.
You would get tired eventually.
I would not.
You're talking as if they're ants. I think it requires a little more energy to kill a duck than an insect. Especially if there were a lot of them at once.
I would swing my arms. I would kick my legs. A group of ducks would crumple immediately in a fight against me.
Okay, now I'm thinking about you killing a lot of ducks, and it's making me really sad, because I'm imagining you killing all the ducks I'm looking after with huge kicks and punches. And I love those ducks, and I hate this conversation now.
I'm sorry, Darcy. I didn't mean to upset you. We're speaking hypothetically here. I'm not going to kill all of your ducks.
That's okay. Thank you, Eustis.
You're welcome, Darcy.
She's not going to kill all of them at once anyway.
Just the ones we need for food.
She's trying to get out of it. She thought we wouldn't notice. Hedwig.
Yes, madam? She stood up, holding her empty plate.
I would like to see you in my office when you've finished eating.
I didn't know what they were. I just stuck my hand out.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, nothing. Silence.
They're just dried apples, dear.
Oh.
What? Come on, Marta, give me some too. Absolutely not. You've been a little cunt lately. Marta! Crone. Gutter snipe. Ronyan.
I don't know that one.
Me neither.
That last one finally got me.
That's enough.
Gutter snipe, I know. I've heard that one before. I've not heard Ronyan before. Obsolete, a mangy or... No, I don't want to fucking sign into Google. Shut up. A mangy or scabby creature. Wow, that's mean.
The superior looked very irritated. Flora and Marta looked as if they were having a grand old time.
Hedwig, I'd just like to speak with you privately about your new duties as chronicler now that you're feeling better.
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you. One of the others will show you where my office is when you're ready.
She strode out of the room magnanimously.
Take your time. Enjoy the rest of your luncheon.
I started nibbling on some cheese. Everyone was watching me. I'm happy to share the apples if you'd all like. There was a dull roar of agreement from everyone in the room, all except for Angela, who had been pretending to ignore everyone for the entire meal. I broke up the handful of dried fruit into 2 piles and passed it to either side of me, keeping one piece for myself.
Thank you kindly. So, now that the Eldor ma'am is gone, do tell us about yourself.
I realized that even now, after I had no more candied fruits to give, everyone in the room was staring at me with intense interest. I don't know what I could say that I didn't say this morning.
What did you say this morning? I must admit, wiping up your sick has overwritten any memory of what you'd said prior.
Sorry. Catherine shrugged, smirking. Margaret waved a hand.
It gave us a chance to... A chance to reflect on the nature of servitude to God. And so on.
I could see Angela raising one of her eyebrows out of the corner of my eye.
I wonder what they're up to.
Anyway, Hedwig is adapting wonderfully. She had some trouble with the stairs, but got the hang of them quickly.
I imagine you probably have some trouble with the stairs if you've been locked in a little room for that long.
Yes, whereas we're all locked in a big room, aren't we? With each other for company. Locked is a strong word, Catherine. You're right as usual. We aren't locked in. The hill is more of a moat. Honestly, you sound just like Flora sometimes.
Or, a hill. Not sure the metaphor is really necessary.
Metaphor. That's a big word. As expected, however, from our resident librarian, Coombe Butcher.
On the subject of ducks, I was merely speaking in hypotheticals.
Oh, that's another good word. What does hypothetical mean, Eustis?
I regret saying anything.
I'm being earnest. It means mind control.
Thank you, Darcy. Oh, I think they jump in whenever there's not enough room to fit another sprite on screen or something?
Yeah.
You're thinking of hypnosis.
Time for 3. 3 for 3.
A loud jeer went up around the table.
Darcy, let me out, please.
Eustis scooted her chair back with a loud squeak and stormed out of the room.
Oh, come on, Eustis, please come back. Perhaps this is rich of me to say, but I think you lot don't know when to lay off sometimes. I do not understand in this case. One minute she is talking about fighting ducks, but now she is upset we are joking about fancy words. Bad timing, I think. She's doing her best, but she's quite torn up. We all are.
Oh, it's horrible.
Hedwig, dear, if you don't know...
No,
Nope, shit.
No, I know.
As I said, she was joking about killing ducks. I would have thought that would have been worse than joking about words. You're young. It's never the obvious things that remind some folk of grief past.
Oh, Eustis is the librarian and Catherine was the chronicler, of course. Peas in a pod they were.
Not just them. We all miss her very much. It isn't a competition.
I was going to say, it's starting to feel like a competition for a moment there.
Flora looked at me as if she was about to mouth off in response, but at that moment, Eustis re-entered the room carrying a large wooden bowl.
what the hell happened in here?
We were wondering where you'd gotten off to. We were worried you were upset.
Eustis said nothing as she walked to the table with the bowl, smiling gently.
That's playing dirty, Euse.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I forgot I'd made this to celebrate our newcomer, that's all.
I believe you. What?
Gay lead? My turn again? Hold on. I got us.
I mean, yes, we do have a gay lead, but I'm not sure what that has to do with this bowl.
Oh, it's a, it looks like a sweet.
What sort?
It's hard to get, I've never seen this before, so it's hard to kind of get it, like.
Is there a Wikipedia article?
No, it looks like a pudding?
Huh.
Of some kind. No, there's no Wikipedia article on it. It's just Foods of England. Here we go. Yeah, puddings and sweet desserts. It's a pudding.
Okay. Gay lead, after you've all had candied apple. Goodness.
What's gay lead?
Pudding.
Thank you, Darcy. Can we get Darcy face as a new emote on the Discord? I feel like
We should.
that's vital.
Eustis ladled out the sweet-smelling treat onto everyone's plates. When it was Angela's turn to be offered some, she pushed her chair back and stood up, jolting the entire table forward and causing everyone's plates to wobble. Darcy and Moira had to hold on to their dishes to keep them from spilling over onto their robes. Is everything all right, Angela?
No.
With a glare that seemed to lock with every pair of eyes in the room, Angela stalked out of the rectory hall.
I doubt she'll be coming back with pudding.
What is her deal?
Clearly, we saw her earlier, keeping track of, the maintenance of stuff, keeping people to task for keeping their spaces tidy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's more privy to everyone else's kind of stuff they want to keep on the down low and just has had enough of some of this.
Yeah.
I was in considerably higher spirits after eating. I excused myself after finishing the gay lead. I got a little self-conscious about how long I was taking to meet the superior. Even though there had been a few awkward moments, I didn't really want the conversation to end. Still, feeling like I should be responsible and punctual, I excused myself partway through and continued discussion about what animals Eustis could best in hand-to-hand combat.
I can take them all on. Give me a wandering beast. I'll show it who's boss.
Darcy helpfully volunteered to help show me the office. It was on the first floor. Further down the hallway, she'd taken me down on the way to the kitchen and bath.
Here you go.
Thank you. And thank you again for the mint as well. And for showing me around the before.
Oh, and I helped cook lunch.
Oh, well, thank you for that as well.
I didn't make all of it, but enough that it's sad to not hear a thank you from the others. And nice to hear it from you.
Well, in I go.
In you go.
I like Darcy so much. Even though, like, did I mention... I don't think I mentioned what I was thinking about our I haven't mentioned yet on this episode what I thought about our constant vomiting, right?
You haven't.
Right. So, one thing I noticed is that, like, Hedwig has obviously been vomiting for the past... She vomited the night previous, she vomited this morning, and kept feeling nauseous, right?
Yep.
I had we're meant to kind of take it as, like, she's reacting so poorly to being removed from her station.
Yep.
Right, that she's physically reacting to it, which could still well be the case. That's a lot of stimuli to happen all at once. I get it. We also mentioned, however, that after she talked to the soup, she was still brought dinner that evening. And how there's a possibility someone might have tried to poison her, knowing what was about to happen. And unfortunately for Darcy, as the one in charge of growing stuff, she's on top of the list of people who might have had access to that, along with people who had access to the cellars. Right? Because, as we know, as we can interpolate from the first conversation we hear, this is one of those abbeys where they do some brewing. At least that's the assumption we're making so far. Anyway,
Enter.
I opened the door and slipped inside. Darcy watched me with a big grin still plastered to her face.
It doesn't come off.
How do you get it to do that little cat-like thing?
It's unclear.
The superior's office was small but meticulously kept. It was rather, plush compared to the rest of the rooms I'd seen so far. A grand window looked out into the garden, and there was a door off to the left that I presumed to lead to a private bedchamber. The superior herself sat in a thick oaken desk in a rather ornate chair.
How are you feeling?
Much better, thank you.
Good. Good. How has your morning fared? Setting aside your little fainting spell.
I rummaged around in recent memory for the reassuring anecdote. Oh, it has been, an interesting experience so far. Managed to run straight into Sister Angela on the way to the chapel, and Sister Catherine introduced me to Sister Margaret.
Aha. Those two. Try not to let them rope you into any schemes.
No, of course.
They are both incredibly adept at sneaking around. Both of them have managed to scare me witless with their creeping.
I am relieved that I'm not alone then.
Indeed. Do you have any leads yet?
Leads?
Any idea who could have killed Catherine yet? Any hint at all? Anything to follow up on?
No, it's been not even half a day.
That is a pity.
Mother Superior, I haven't been held myself for all of 6 hours, if that. For much of that time I was ill, and then asleep, and then alone in a bathtub. What clues could you possibly expect me to have already? Did you really think someone would slip up and tell me over luncheon?
No, I suppose I shouldn't have counted on anything quite so miraculous happening.
She turned around and stepped toward the large window. Some thorny bushes were growing underneath, and a few trees dotted the path between the building and the garden. Light and shadow danced across her habit as she paced back and forth slowly.
I don't even know how Catherine died. I've heard some mournful whispers from the sisters I've met, but this is not...
I've heard some mournful whispers from the sisters I've met, but I haven't a clue as to what actually happened. When did she pass? How? Where is her body?
Sister Catherine was found in the cloister on the first morning of November. She was lying on her back, with a sword plunged into the earth just above her. Above her? Her head had been cut off and arranged in her hands.
Okay, so, alright, fair enough.
It was ghoulish.
So that's what was in the grass. I thought it was a crucifix.
Yes. No one, least of all me, could bear to remove it. It's become something of a monument to Catherine, I suppose.
That's rather grim. A bloodied sword feels like an awful way to remember someone.
You'll get no argument from me, but these women are strange sometimes. That would be true regardless of my suspicions. That said, the blade is actually clean. It was clean even when we found it.
It was?
Yes. Angela found the stable boy hiding in the yard without a speck of blood on him, but Sister Darcy discovered his cloak elsewhere. It was quite tarnished, and Angela surmised that he'd used it to wipe down the blade before attempting to flee.
That makes no sense. Why would you wipe down the blade and then still leave it there, as ostensibly the murder weapon?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make more sense that, you got blood in your cloak, ditch the cloak and leave?
Yeah. I like this weird, dissonant jazz thing.
Yeah. The soundtrack to this has been, phenomenal so far.
Yeah. A sound theory at the time. I have my doubts now, though.
Who found the body, ma'am?
Sister Charity on one of her morning walks. The round woman you met at lunch.
Don't call someone round.
I don't mean it as an insult.
Go up, thou bald one. What?
She's remembering the go up, thou bald one, and that God thinks it's just to
murder
have
people
bears kill you if they disrespect you mildly.
Yeah.
And comparing that to this, that's a good cut in.
Very abrupt, though.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that seems to be in the framing device. So that is Hedwig after the fact, remarking on her disdain for the Mother Superior.
Yep.
Who, again, should not be above suspicion in this.
Yeah.
Granted, it would be weird if she had killed Catherine and brought us in to investigate it, knowing that we would find her out. However, bringing us in to do it might also be maybe she thinks that evidence will lead us elsewhere and she'll have a good excuse.
We'd be the only one she could control, just like she says we're the only one she can trust.
Yep.
Having us rather than anybody else investigate it and then just steering us the wrong way would seem to be.
It does also seem rather if she really wanted to bury it, wouldn't she just go along with what everyone else said, though? That's the thing.
Is that her goal?
It doesn't make sense if her goal is to really make it go away, right? Or to remove if her ultimate goal was to remove suspicion from herself, she would have just let them go with the stable boy story. Everyone would have moved along with their lives, right?
That's true.
So, I can't believe, she might have some other secrets she's hiding. I'm sure she does, but I can't believe that she would take Hedwig out of this and which is a drastic move, right?
Yep.
Unless she felt it was her only chance to get, maybe she doesn't actually really want justice for the reasons she does. Maybe she's got some other extenuating circumstance that makes her want to get to the root of it. By the way, I have to assume that her intent in making Hedwig do this is genuine. She wants to find out who the killer is. Even if there's more to it than that, right? But regardless.
What happened with Catherine's body?
If you're hoping to play surgeon and examine her for clues, I'm afraid she's already been interred.
I understand. This was actually a small relief. As determined as I was to find Catherine's killer and help bring them to justice, a dead body was the last thing I wanted to see.
Because remember, her motivating thing right now is that she wants She wants to find justice. She wants to bring to justice the person who killed Catherine because Catherine was the one giving her, she believes was the one giving her such intriguing conversations, right? They took that play from her.
Where was she buried?
The cemetery is a short hike from here on the hill. I can have one of the sisters show you there should you feel the need to visit, say a few words. Not that you could have known her, I suppose.
What a great idea. What if the murderer, since you don't believe it was the suspicious boy with blood on his shirt, decides to off me as well? Perhaps he'll take me on a pleasant hike, alone, up to the cemetery. I must say, it feels rather difficult involving myself with the others when you've directed me to spy on them.
You make it sound so ugly. We are seeking justice.
I had no choice in the matter. I'm sticking my neck out based on your intuition.
Let's not fight about it. What's done is done. You are no longer an anchoress. You are free to do whatever you wish once the killer is captured.
I was perfectly happy where I was.
Don't be ridiculous. You might as well have been a prisoner.
If that were so, I would have been your prisoner.
I really, truly do not want to fight about this.
Yes, so you keep saying every time I question something.
Stop giving me this insolence. By God, where is the awkward little titmouse who introduced herself to service this morning?
She's standing in front of you, rather upset about the situation she's been thrust into.
You are not but a bratty child. A woman, a member of our family, had her bloody head cut off, and all you can think about is your own comfort.
These people are not my family, you least of all.
I am your superior. I am your abbess. You are my charge, and you will do as I say. I have been as accommodating and kind as I possibly can in asking for your assistance. But make no mistake. I do not need to ask, nor will I in future if I require something of you. Vade ad formica mo piger et considera vias eius et disce sapientiam.
Quae cum non habitat ducem nec preceputorem nec principem, parat estate cibum sibi et congregat in messe quod commodat. I am neither ant nor sluggard, abbess. I will respect your wishes as my superior, but I am not a soldier awaiting commands.
Are
you surprised? I must admit I surprised myself in this moment as well. Maybe my humors were still off kilter. Maybe I was tired of feeling meek and embarrassed all morning. Perhaps I, free from myself for the first time in many years, was trying out new behaviors to see how they fit me the way one tries on a new cloak at the market. Or maybe, just maybe, it was something else. Do you think Darcy could have been right when she said this place was haunted?
I am sorry. Once again, I am being unfair. Please try to understand. I have so much love for this place. These halls are my responsibility, and if it all falls apart, I don't know what I'd do.
If you truly believe the stable boy did not do it,
I could so easily throw him to the wolves. Don't you see? I do not mean to throw you to them in his place. I mean to take the more difficult path here. I would rather stake my reputation on seeking the truth than condemn an innocent boy for my own gain. It would not be right.
Okay, but now that she's arguing in her own favor, now I'm second-guessing myself. Because, it's still, this is still quite logical, right?
Mm-hmm.
If she really did want to do that, then she wouldn't have let Hedwig out and made her do this.
Mm-hmm.
That much I feel like is undoubtable. But I do feel like she has another motive in this. I don't think you posture yourself as purposely trying to seek the high road here. If that's actually and you don't brag about that, right? You don't make a big deal of it.
I understand. I could feel myself becoming smaller, meeker again, deflating like an empty water skin. If you want me to start truly investigating things, I need somewhere to start. I can't just hope to stumble into the answer. Can I speak with the accused, the stable boy, and the hospitalum?
An obvious but nonetheless excellent idea. I've felt so trapped by my position leading the convent, despite this investigation ultimately being my responsibility. I didn't dare think of involving myself so directly, but you could speak with him. I will take you to the hospitalum. In secret, of course. I'll arrange a time and send for you under the pretense of more chronicler business. I would still pose my first question to you again, however. Think hard. Has anything stuck out as particularly unusual to you?
Everything is unusual to me. I was fighting back tears now. Meek. Everything. Did Catherine tell you I barely made it down the stairs this morning? In my mind, I knew what stairs were, but I can't remember if I'd ever actually walked up or down any before today.
It will take some time to adjust.
Not sure if I ever will fully adjust.
Have faith.
If I could offer one small observation at least. If there's anything I find strange, it's how calm everyone seems.
So you felt it too. I'm glad it was not just my own superstition.
Everyone seems happy. Especially at luncheon, they were joking, laughing. Suppose I'd have no way of truly knowing, but the congregation certainly isn't behaving the way I'd expect them, knowing one of them just died.
It is odd, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose. Your instincts weren't wrong in asking for my help. I changed the subject quickly. I did not want the superior to think I was happy with her choice in my situation. God forbid. Oh, a question though. Is it true that the hours are compressed here? A morning service and an evening office that encompasses every office?
Yes, that is fairly standard in most monastic communities nowadays.
Why didn't you tell me that? My cell wasn't far away. You knew how to use stairs.
The bishop forbade it.
Why?
Because an anchorite's entire purpose is to do the things normal people cannot.
She was right. I tensed and untensed my hands a few times, unsure what to do with myself. I was to bear burdens no one else was expected to. All alone in there.
You thought otherwise.
I don't know. I suppose I never really considered it. I just read scripture and theology all the time. I had an idea in my mind of what an abbey was supposed to look like, and I thought even if my role was different, everyone else's would be at least similar.
Things are very different when you have responsibilities. The day-to-day tasks of earthly life, as much as the monastery reduces them to their basics, are still quite time-consuming. Animals must be tended to, food must be grown and prepared, work arises and must be done. Besides, you had your own work to do, you had books to copy, scripture to commit to memory, prayers for the townspeople to amplify.
What?
You were given written prayers to say for people. That was one of your core duties.
I was given no such thing.
Now is a very poor time for jokes.
I am being completely serious. I have no idea what you're talking about. I copied books, I prayed the hours. I was never once given anything else to pray for, save the occasional visitor to the hagioscope's prayers. She gave me a piercing, icy glare. Then, as if a set of strings holding her upright had been cut, she collapsed into her chair.
Is that what Catherine was telling the superior that she was doing when she was going to visit the anchoress?
I think you're. I was because my mind immediately went to who was shirking on their duties, and then I'm like, oh, who's visiting her regularly and shirking?
Yeah.
Don't understand.
We are very far away from the nearest village or town here. Nonetheless, we are here, and we serve the people of Linbarrow and their needs.
I need to buy the soundtrack as soon as we're done with this episode. Holy shit.
Offer them help with their prayers.
Of course. I would have happily done so if I'd received any.
Because we're up on this hill, we're sent supplies from the village. Things we can't grow ourselves, essentials, the occasional holiday luxuries, and so on.
She reached down into a drawer under her desk, pulling out 2 small cups and a carafe. She uncorked the container and poured some dark liquid into both cups.
Wine, drink up.
She slid one of the cups toward me with her own. I took it gingerly. I had, of course, had wine before, but this smelled different.
This is nicer than anything you've had brought to you, I'd wager. One of the aforementioned occasional luxuries. Drink it. Please.
I braved a sip. She was right. It was different. For one thing, it was quite strong. The superior took a big swig of hers and continued.
When you were brought here and made to take the vows, one of the first things that crossed my mind was how inconvenient it would be to expect the people of the village to trek up here every time they needed spiritual aid. Why, it'd be positively cruel to make children walk all the way to the anchoress themselves, old men with walking sticks, you get the picture. And since we are all the way up here on this lonely hill, I thought, why, I know what would make things easier. I offer the townsfolk a simple idea. They're an educated sort down there, you see, not like us, or, well,
She waved her cup towards the door.
more than them. So I told the people to write their prayers down, give them to the young man who brings our supplies. We'll sort through them and pass them on to the anchoress here.
And did they?
I saw the envelopes, yes, many times.
I don't understand. The abbess took a final pull from her cup and slammed it back onto the desk.
Giving those letters to you was Catherine's responsibility.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Ha ha ha.
Absolutely. Oh, this is so good. All covered with thin plaster. What?
That sounds like a Godspeed
That does sound
track
like
movement
a
name,
God-
and the diagram too looks like it would be in like the foldouts
Right, of a
Godspeed album.
God, that's what I'm missing from the last God. The last Godspeed album I bought was digital, and I'm missing the liner notes so badly now. God. Hope you all like Godspeed You Black Emperor, and if you don't,
Learn to.
learn to.
You can start at any time. You have
No
your
one
whole
will
life
judge
ahead
you.
of you.
There is so much great music waiting for you. Anyway, I think we're calling that a sode.
Yeah.
It's good to be back in this.
It is.
This probably won't go up on the channel for a little while because you're still in the recovery phase,
Yep.
and we're still kind of getting back in the swing of things, but it feels good to record stuff, and I hope you all are enjoying this. If this is your first episode back after our break, thank you again for sticking with us. It sucks having to do 2 breaks like that in a row for different reasons, but
Such is life.
such is life, and also I wouldn't trade Vivian's health for anything, so, I guess thank you for being patient with us. It wouldn't have changed anything on our end, but I'm glad that you were patient. Anyway, we'll see you next time for episode 3. Bye, everyone.
Peace, y'all.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.